Hello, welcome once again to the Turret of Pleasure here in the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione. I'm the Lord Chamberlain of the old Enchanted Kingdom, Zipka, and I got talking with a friend of mine the other day, sitting at the brew pub, and he was talking about getting started with certain artists. Like, if he wanted to tell somebody how to get into a particular artist, what would be the record that most likely they would be told to listen to, and in many cases how wrong these are. And this led to a spirited conversation, and I got the idea for some videos. So I'm going to do a few of them. We're going to call them Where Not to Start, or Where Brackets Not to Start. And the first one that came to mind, just right out of for me, was Captain Beefheart. Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. If you're a young person and you don't know who that is, or you know a young person who hasn't got a clue who it is, who are into, let's say, 70s type music, but creative 70s music. And Beefheart is the poster boy for weird, creative rock and roll music, pretty much. His career went all over the place. 1966, he was basically in a white blues band, sounded kind of like the Rolling Stones, but kind of weird, maybe kind of LA from the desert. He was a little bit of a strange dude. Ry Cooder had the first record. He was the music director, and it was pretty normal, but pretty cool. And then Ry quit, and then things got kind of psychedelic, and they discovered things like flanging, and the music got more and more kind of, I don't know how to describe it, tribal. Um, the drummer he had, even on the first album, a guy named John French, really started to help define a Beefheartian, if you will, rhythm. And after a series of bad record deals and things, he ended up with his old high school buddy, Frank Zappa, who let him make a record exactly the way he wanted to make it. And by this point, there'd been considerable indulgences in psychedelics, and they came up with this record called Trope, Replica, which is, to put it very briefly, one of the weirdest rock and roll records ever to make the top 20 in Britain. So, and then they went after that, they kind of backed off. They tried to get more commercial. They got more commercial. They got more commercial. Then they really, really went commercial. That was a complete disaster. He got tangled up in legal problems, even toured a bit with Zappa, which went not so great, and then came back and kind of went right back to where he was just post Trope Mask. And then he finally got sick of it and retired. Now, that Beefheart is worth checking out if you don't know who he is. If you're, like I say, this is kind of directed to young people who go, yeah, I keep hearing about Captain Beefheart. What's he like? And it seems to me, at least in all the stuff I read, the videos I watch, that the go-to record that is often suggested to people is the aforementioned Trope Mask Replica. Now, Trope Mask Replica is a really great record, and but it's a forbidding thing. And back in the day, I discovered in about 1972. It was a double album, which was significant. Not too many double albums. It does have a lot of, like, 26, 28 songs. It's got a lot of songs on it. There's a lot of weird things in between songs, bits of spoken word, tape recordings on bad cassette recorders. And the music is just completely defies description. It's multi-temporal. It doesn't make any sense. All the musical rules are broken in this. And yet, when it does kind of settle in here and there, it's got a kind of a bluesy quality. And Beefheart, I should mention from the get-go, always sounded a lot like Howlin' Wolf. That was his kind of vocal model. And he took that and kind of ran with it, and he basically became the Fuhrer of this band, and he locked them in a house famously, and they weren't allowed to leave, and they practiced 12 hours a day, and And this record was the result. And it actually, strangely, it didn't do very good in the States. It did pretty good in England. I think it made it to number 11 in England, which just, when you think about it today. But this is not a great record to start with Beefheart for a couple of good reasons. First of all, it's if you're not ready for it, it just sounds like noise. And the sort of, you know, it starts with a really, really unpleasant song, and then it goes to a solo a cappella blues hauler, uh, you know, and then it goes to Dachau Blues, and then it goes to a song called Eligaroo, where antenna Jimmy Siemens sings in the squeaky voice. It's really, really, really extra weird. They're trying really hard to be weird on this record. There are moments like Moonlight on Vermont, Pachuco Cadaver, which I think Pachuco Cadaver maybe is the song to start with. If you're going to play one song for somebody, okay, here's Captain Beefheart in 4 minutes. Pachuco Cadaver is a good one. Not bad. However, I find that some people just they get halfway into Dachau Blues and they go, this is horrible. I don't want to listen to this anymore. So, not the way to start. Now, if you want to get in easy, I think this is my suggestion. If you got people that are just a little bit scared of crazy people, you try this one. Now, this was 3 albums after this. And it was the last record he made for Warner Reprise. This is a repo of the cover. I've actually got the vinyl of this. All you vinyl fetishists, note that if you want a great collectible vinyl, try to find an original of this. It's not that expensive. And it's in the vinyl cover. This was produced by Ted Templeman, of all people, who did the Doobie Brothers, Van Halen, and Little Feat. But now Ted is a good producer. His records sound good. And one of Beefheart's problems was he was his own producer, and so Beefheart didn't have a clue what made things sound good or not. And so he, the previous 2 records, well, this was done by Frank Zappa, but it was done in literally a matter of 3 hours. Very little in the way of production. The album after that, called Lick My Decals Off Baby, which is a fine album. And this, believe it or not, made the top 10 in England. And this is only slightly less weird than Trope Mask, but one of the guitar players has been fired or whatever and replaced by a marimba player. And that makes a difference. The sound is kind of, but I love that record. I have a great soft spot for it. Again, not the place to start. This is probably where you start with the gentle folk. Just play them, play it at a party, and they'll all dance to it. His lyrical messages are intact on this. The ecology, male-female relationships, and maybe sort of a little bit of science fiction like Sun Tzu Spock and Big-Eyed Beans from Venus. But the playing is consistent. It's the classic Magic Band, which actually is many of the guys on this record too. They evolved. Two of the guys from this record are on this record. So, if you are going to start with Captain Beefheart, Pachuco Cadaver is the cut. Clear Spot's the album. Maybe work your way up to this. And if you're like one of those people, and there's a lot of them, they say, well, just what's a good best of? There actually is one. It's 2 CDs. It's probably not cheap. The Dust Blows Forward and The Dust Blows Back. This has stuff from every era, covers a lot of bases, has Diddy Wah Diddy, which is his first kind of hit. And it even includes, I'm pretty sure anyway, a couple of songs from the really terrible Mercury Records era, which a lot of people call the Tragic Band. But they are there so you can actually sample just how bad the stuff is. Where is it? Do they have that? No, I got them. Yeah, Upon the Mile Mine and Party of Special Things to Do, which are maybe the 2 best songs from that era, and they're just horrible. Those 2 records are unlistenable. Beefheart fans will tell you otherwise. I disagree. So there, that's my quick one on Captain Beefheart. And I can't recommend him highly enough, but he takes some getting used to if you're not into super weird stuff. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. I'll try to do some more of these. I want to keep them short. look after each other, and don't forget to subscribe and all that other stuff if you haven't. I'm trying to get to 500. 500 big ones. I don't know what happens at 500. Apparently something good. Thanks. We'll talk to you later.